Hey, I redyed my nails and I also redyed my hair. Do you love it? I mean, I also did some socializing yesterday. I went out with my friends to the Chinese restaurant and I looked absolutely snatched. So, yay me. I did something actually that normal people do. But that's not what I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you that I am gonna do a bookshelf tour today. So, behind me, you can see the subject, not subject, but like the background of many of my videos so far, which is my main bookshelf. In here, I have a lot of my favorite books, a lot of other books that I just kept, and I am gonna go through it all. Also, this, what you can see like a little bit over here, this is my TBR shelf. I'm not gonna go through that one because that one is also like not organized. I literally just like every book that I get that I have not read, it's gonna get put on here, and every one that I have read, it's gonna get put on here or up there. You cannot see that because yeah, but there is like an extension of my bookshelves because this one is filled to the brim and I am putting the rest of my books up there, so I'm gonna show you through that as well. I hope this is like fun to you, and let's get into it, shall we? So here in the uppermost row of my bookshelf we have my section that is supposed to be my like cosmic horror section, as well as the like horror mishmash section that I just don't know what genre to put it in. That one is also in here, and my supernatural horror section also starts here. I think that of my all my horror books is like my largest section, and it also starts here. I do love quite a few of these books up here. I have like Smashed and Blackmouth. I really like those, but like Wild Space was one of my favorite books of 2024. I really like my cosmic horror section overall. And then here we have like a few Stephen King books that I like didn't love as much, and Almakatsu that I probably have more thoughts about, but I gave like 5 stars at the time, as well as The Stepford Wives by Ira Levin, which is one of my favorite books of last year. And then here we have just like random assortment of like supernatural horror books, and there is not like a particular standout on those, except for like The Skin Was Once Mine by Eric LaRocca. That was only on my shelves because I bought it in London, but I actually gave that one 2 stars, and I think I'm gonna unhaul it soon. Okay, so going to the row below, up to this point, this book is like filled to with like the rest of my supernatural horror collection, and then from here on we have the start of my creature horror collection. In here we have also like a lot of books I really like do like. I mean, from the supernatural horror shelf we have The Broken Places that I really loved. Obviously I'm a huge fan of Michelle Paver, as well as The Salt Grows Heavy that I really liked. There was like a few Stephen Kings in here that I'm obviously not the biggest fan of because like me and Stephen King have a very contentious relationship, and the rest was like more like 3 stars or something. And then over in the start of my creature horror section we have The Hunger, probably my favorite book of 2023, but I am not sure what I would feel about it nowadays. Snow, which I really liked and read last year, and probably one of my least favorite books on the entire shelf, which is The Troop by Nick Cutter. That is only on my shelf because it's a modern classic, but I actually gave that one 2 stars. Onto the shelf below. So up until here, we have the rest of my creature horror collection. Then this entire thing is what I call my gothic collection. And then we have an assortment of thrillers up until here where my like sci-fi thriller section starts. I had my thrillers divided in like subgenres a few years ago, but then I unhauled most of them, and I have started to not read as much thrillers anymore. So I thought, except for sci-fi thrillers, I put all of them in one category because it just didn't make sense to keep all of them separate anymore. But yeah, so in my creature horror section, there is favorites like The Shuddering, books that I like but not love, like The Girl Who Loved from Gorham by Stephen King, as well as Near the Bone by Christina Henry, a Stephen King book I really disliked with The Dreamcatcher, and my most recent DNF, The Terror by Dan Simmons, which is gonna get unhauled later. Then gothic horror is probably like one of my favorite things ever. I do have to say this is not only gothic horror. I decided to like make it more of like a general gothic shelf, so we also have like things like Wuthering Heights, or maybe also We Have Always Lived in the Castle, which I personally wouldn't like describe as a horror thing. But yeah, we have like more of Michelle Paver's books, Wakenhurst and Dark Matter are my absolute favorites. I didn't like The Haunting of Hill House, but I loved how lesbian it was. I really liked Brat. Don't Let the Forest In I have kind of soured on, but it's still, like, in my mind is something I really enjoyed. Not the biggest fan of, like, either of these three. I didn't like We Have Always Lived in the Castle, neither did I do Wuthering Heights or Camilla. I DNF the Hunting Season, that one is gonna get on hold. The Lonely was okay, and I absolutely love Pine by Francine Toon. My thrillers, I am not the biggest fan of them, okay? We have The Outsider by Stephen King, which was one of the Stephen King books I really actually liked. The Last House on Needle Street I wasn't a fan, and the rest of these was also, like, not that great. But yeah, I'm keeping them at the moment. So this is the last row of this bookshelf that I have actually any books on. Down there's just my laptop and a few, like, random notebooks. But yeah, up until here we have the rest of my sci-fi thrillers. And then there starts my huge romance section, which, like, romance is literally my second favorite genre ever after horror. It has grown to that. But yeah, I have liked but not loved a lot of those. This is just like a comfort genre that I always read when I just am in a reading slump or have nothing else to read. But yeah, I always loved Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, as well as its sequel. And I really liked the first and second Pendergast book by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, as well as Lincoln Child's solo series, the Jeremy Logan one. I have Terminal Freeze as well as Full Wolf Moon. And I also really enjoyed James Rowland's works. Over here in the romance section, we have my favorite book of all time, which is Wolfsong by TJ Klune. And there's so much I love here. I love Hunt Me, I Crave the Chase. I love Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I really enjoyed all the other things on here as well. I think the one I, like, least enjoyed on here would probably be, like, this one, which is the sequel to this one. They have German titles, and I'm not bothering to translate them right now. But yeah, I absolutely love my romance shelf, and I don't think I'm ever gonna unhaul any of these. So going to my new bookshelf here, my romance section continues up until here. And then we have the start of my, like, general fiction section. And I guess we're gonna do a pivot over here as well, because that shelf isn't fully filled yet. And you can see how messy my room is back there. So I'm not gonna want to film that as well. But yeah, so the general fiction section continues, like, back to here. But then it turns around, and over here we have the rest of, like, there's my action section, and here is my fantasy. But yeah, the romance books on here I actually didn't like as much. There is The Reckoning by Omakatsu, which is the sequel to The Taker, and I absolutely hated this one. But I mean, I like the first book and I love Omakatsu, so I'm gonna keep it. This one broke my heart. I love this. I absolutely love this. I really like this one, and these are also, like, okay, except for Nick the Drunkard, as well as Enemy Territory Part 3. Not a fan of those. Starting here, we have one of the only classics I actually like, as well as another classic I actually like, which is White Fang by Jack London, as well as Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. And then we have Francine Toon's 2025 release Bluff, that absolutely not enough people have read. It's not as incredible as Pine, in my opinion, but I really liked it. So pick it up, people, please. As well as the torture that I endured while reading A Little Life Can Never Be replicated by anyone, except if you read this book yourself, and I do not recommend that. But it was kind of incredible. I have a lot of issues with it, but it's like, for the experience that it gave me, I still gave it 5 stars. And then, like, just jumping to this one, I started reading Naruto, but I kind of DNF'd the series at this point, and I technically give all of them 5 stars, but I think they're more of, like, 4s. But, like, given how quickly I read them and how easy they are to read, it's just, like, kind of a comfort read. So the entire series up to the point I read it is 5 stars for me. And, like, back here, you can see that I have more of these, like, massive issues where there are multiple of the mangas in there. And then there we have my fantasy section. I loved almost everything that is in here. Like, The Foxwife is 5 stars, Board Game Werewolf is a 5 star, A Howl's Moving Castle is a 4 star, and The Empress of Southern Fortune is also a 5 star. So I really like this shelf. And then on the other side, we have the continuation of my general fiction section, as well as the start of my action section. I actually did not like most of the, like, books here, because there's Snow Country, which I didn't like, Deep House, which I really didn't care for. Then there's Bear Town, which I absolutely loved, as well as, like, Brokeback Mountain by Annie Proulx, which was so disappointing, as well as Atmosphere by Tyler Jenkins Reid, which was also really disappointing. But yeah, and then, as I said, Naruto, as well as The Jesus Injection, which I also put here. So yeah, that is my bookshelf tour. If you want me to, like, go through my TBR shelf as well, or if you have any thoughts on my books, and if you want to, like, have any of
like my deeper like thoughts on any of the books I mentioned, or maybe just if you have any observations on my bookshelf, I'd love if you like tell me in the comments, because I always love to hear from you. Like if you don't want to like have any thoughts on like this video, just do it as well. Like if you just leave like a random emoji, or like if you dislike this video, tell me as well. I always love to hear from you, and I hope I see you in another video. Bye.